All right, let's jump right in and talk about ProxySQL versions today. We're going to figure out which one's the best for you, you know?
Exactly.
Think of ProxySQL as that smart assistant for your MySQL database. You know what I mean?
Right.
It
Yeah,
can help
same.
boost performance, security, all that good stuff. But with all these different versions out there, picking the right one can be a bit of a headache.
Yeah, definitely. Like trying to pick, the right tool from a giant toolbox.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got a ton of resources here covering versions from 2.2.x all the way up to 2.7.x. So we're going to break down each release, the new features, and hopefully by the end you'll know exactly which version to use for your setup. Sound good?
Sounds like a plan.
Perfect. So first things first, what versions are actually still being supported?
So right now it's 2.2.x all the way to 2.7.x, and each version has kind of evolved, right,
Oh,
to
yeah.
address new challenges and changes in the MySQL world.
Makes sense. So let's start with 2.3.x then. What were some of the big features that came out with that one?
Well, 2.3.x was a big one for security.
Oh,
It brought in something called runtime TLS management.
okay.
And that basically means you can update your TLS certificates without having to restart ProxySQL.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, no more downtime just to update a certificate.
Andy.
Yeah, and it also added SpyFE authentication.
SpyFE.
Yeah.
With that?
So think of SpyFE like a digital ID card.
Okay.
But for your services, it's a secure way to verify the identity of different parts of your system. So by adding SpyFE, 2.3.x added another layer of security, making sure only authorized apps can talk to your database.
Gotcha. So 2.3.x was all about security then. What about 2.4.x? What was new in that release?
So 2.4.x, that one focused a lot on performance.
Oh, okay.
They made some big improvements to query multiplexing.
All right. And remind me what that is again.
Right. So imagine you have a bunch of users, like 100, all trying to access your database at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Chaos.
Total chaos. Query multiplexing groups those connections together. So it reduces the load on your MySQL servers, prevents things from slowing down.
Oh, that's super smart. Like a traffic cop for your database.
Exactly. It keeps everything running smoothly.
I like it. So what else was in 2.4.x? It says here something called enhanced session variables.
Yeah, so that gives you way more control over how ProxySQL manages client sessions. You can really fine-tune things like connection limits and timeouts to get even better performance.
Also, like even more granular control.
Exactly.
I like it. All right. So 2.3 was security. 2.4 was performance. What about 2.5? Anything exciting in there?
2.5 brought in something called asynchronous parallel monitoring.
Okay.
It basically means ProxySQL can now check the health of multiple servers at the same time instead of one by one.
Oh, okay. So that makes it way faster.
Way faster. It's a game changer for anyone with a large cluster of servers.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Okay.
And I see it also added native support for MySQL 8 group replication, huh?
Yep. That's a big deal if you're using MySQL 8 because it makes it super easy to set up a really robust database architecture.
Right. So 2.5 sounds like another performance and efficiency focused one, especially with the monitoring and the MySQL 8 compatibility.
Yeah.
That brings us to 2.6.x. What's new in that release?
Well, security came back into focus in 2.6.x.
Oh, okay.
They added something called caching SQL password,
Okay.
which means ProxySQL can now use the stronger SHA-256 password hashing.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, much better for security. And they finally added a brand new web interface.
Oh, yeah. I heard about this. What's it like?
It's great. It's super modern and easy to use. You can configure settings, monitor performance, troubleshoot problems all from one place.
Oh, that's nice. And there were also improvements to LDF support, right?
Right. So if you're using LDF for authentication, integrating ProxySQL is now a lot easier.
Excellent, excellent. So 2.6 sounds like a good mix of everything, security improvements, a new interface, and better integration. Now let's talk about the latest version, 2.7.x. What are the big things there?
So 2.7.x is all about better integration with load balancers and even stronger security.
Okay, I like the sound of that.
Yeah, they added support for PROXY protocol v1, which helps ProxySQL communicate with load balancers more effectively.
Nice.
Yeah, improves traffic management and security monitoring.
Makes sense. And they also changed the APT repo layout, right?
Yep. They made it more in line with the standard conventions.
So a small change, but makes things easier for users, I guess.
Exactly.
Awesome. So we've gone through all the versions from 2.3 and 2.7. It's amazing to see how ProxySQL has evolved over time, you know?
Definitely.
But now comes the big question, which version should you actually use?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Well, we're going to tackle that next. We'll figure out the best use cases for each version. Think about things like stability, performance, security, all those good things. And by the end of this deep dive, you'll know exactly which ProxySQL version to choose to really get the most out of your MySQL database.
Sounds good to me.
All right.
Let's do it.
So let's get down to brass tacks here. We've seen all the cool stuff each version can do, but now we got to figure out which one's right for you.
Yeah, for sure. Like, let's say stability is my top priority.
Yeah.
I need something rock solid for my production environment. Which version should I be looking at?
If you want something that just works day in, day out, ProxySQL 2.6.x is probably your best bet. It's been battle tested in production, you know.
Right, right. Sometimes you just need that reliability.
Exactly.
But what if I'm the kind of person who always wants the latest features, the bleeding edge stuff?
I see you're an early adopter.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, for you, I'd say go for ProxySQL 2.7.x. It's got all the newest bells and whistles, like that PRXY Protocol v1 support we talked about.
Right, right. So 2.6 for stability, 2.7 for the newest stuff.
Yeah.
Got it. But what if I'm still using an older system, like MySQL 5.7? What then?
That's a good question. If you're still on 5.7, I'd recommend sticking with ProxySQL 2.2 mod X or 2.3.x.
Okay.
They still have support for those older MySQL versions.
Makes sense. So even though they might not be as fancy as the newer ones, they'll still work with my older setup.
Exactly. It's all about finding the right balance.
For sure. Now let's talk security, because that's obviously super important.
Yeah.
Which version has the strongest security features?
If security is your main concern, you'll want to go with either ProxySQL 2.6.x or 2.7.x. They both have features like that caching to password thing, for stronger passwords and better SSL TLS options.
Right. So they're both good choices for security then.
Definitely.
It seems like 2.6 and 2.7 keep coming up as good options. But let's say I'm all about performance, I want my database to be as fast as possible. Which version should I go for?
For raw performance, ProxySQL 2.6.x is still the king.
Interesting.
They've really optimized it for speed. The query routing, connection pooling, caching, all that stuff is super efficient.
Cool. So 2.6 is the performance champ then.
Pretty much, yeah.
Gotcha. But what about those of us who are using MySQL in the cloud, like on AWS with Aurora? Any recommendations for that?
If you're using Aurora, ProxySQL 2.6.x is still the way to go.
Okay.
It has specific features that make it work really well with Aurora.
Great. So we've gone through a lot of different scenarios here, but how can people be sure they're picking the right version? It can still feel kind of overwhelming,
Yeah, I get it. It's a lot to take in. But the key is to really think about your needs, What are your priorities? What kind of environment are you working in?
Right.
Once you know what's important to you, you can use all the information we've talked about to narrow down your choices.
That's good advice. It's easy to get lost in the technical details, but ultimately, it's about finding the version that fits your goals.
Yeah.
Anything else people should keep in mind as they're getting started with ProxySQL?
Oh, definitely. Don't forget, this is just the beginning. There's tons of information out there, documentation, forums, blog posts.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So do your research, dive deep into the version you're interested in.
Yeah, always good to keep learning. Speaking of which, are you ready for the last part of our ProxySQL journey?
Absolutely. I'm excited to finish up with a little something to make everyone think about the future of ProxySQL and how it's changing the world of data.
All right, welcome back to our deep dive on ProxySQL. I feel like we've learned a lot so far about all the different versions, how to choose the right one, all that stuff. What about you?
Yeah, definitely. And, hopefully everyone listening feels like they can tackle any ProxySQL challenge now.
That's the goal. But before we wrap things up, I kind of want to talk about something a little bigger,
Ooh. Okay, I'm listening.
So to me, ProxySQL is a really great example of like the power of open source, right?
Right, yeah.
This tool can handle like massive databases. And it's all because of, well, all these developers and engineers working together, sharing what they know and building something amazing.
You're absolutely right. It's like a testament to the whole open source community.
Yeah. And it shows how much we can achieve when everyone collaborates and shares ideas.
For sure. It's all about learning from each other and, pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Exactly.
Okay.
So anyone listening who's starting their ProxySQL journey, remember, you're not alone. There's a whole community out there ready to help and share their knowledge.
Definitely. So don't hesitate to reach out, ask questions, experiment and learn.
Yeah. And who knows, maybe one day you'll be the one contributing to ProxySQL, right? But for now, hopefully this deep dive has given you all the info you need to choose the right version and really unlock the power of your MySQL database.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Right. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us on this Proxy SQL deep dive.
Yeah, thanks everyone, and until next time, happy proxying.
Happy proxying.